Hello. I think that's just about it. Technical issues all the time. Welcome to the Webster Report. We intended on doing a Leythers roundtable. We've got a table. We've got two of us. The third one is here or thereabouts, whatever that means. If we can add him, we will as soon as, but I am going to look to open conversation up to chat room, and anybody who wants to call in, I can send a link to just open debate about what the fuck is going on. It's I don't know where to start. I really don't know where to start with this stuff. It's beyond expectations of what I thought. Stuff that's going on now, I never thought I'd see. Even though I'd read about the intentions of what they wanted and things being put into place for such things, I never thought I'd see it. But within 6 months, wow. Who knows? Without further ado, I'm not being anti-Semitic there when I bring in the Jews, because I'm not. Anyway, Jimmy, what's your take on this? I'm good.
On what? Which part of it? It's a big thing. What's going on?
All of it. All of it, mate.
Well, where do I start? I mean, what's world a mess, isn't it? What's going on? I mean, we've got like. Have you been shopping recently?
I can say that I was in Lee, in Bradgate a couple of weeks back for John O'Malley's protest against Wigan Council and the police and everything. All the issues that's going on there with Glebe Street and Little Romania and all that. And I sat outside Costa with our kid, Jim, and I had a coffee there, and I've never seen as many welders and surgeons walking around Lee in my life. It was absolutely bonkers, mate. There was a guy on a mobility scooter with a welder's, it's for when you're grinding, welding rather, but it's a welder's visor with a leather baseball cap tilted at a jaunty angle.
Well, I'll tell you what I've seen when I've been shopping, yeah. The first time I went shopping, I wore a mask just out of, because my kids were with me and they kept saying, why aren't you're going to wear a mask? You have to wear a mask, you'll make us feel stupid and all this.
Oh my God. But wearing a mask, not wearing a mask would make you look stupid.
Well, anyway, listen, so I've never worn one since that first time I went shopping, so I've been going without a mask on. Nobody said nothing to me. I've given them the due. Nobody's pulled me up or anything. But some of the things I've seen when I'm shopping, it's just farcical, really. I mean, you go in Asda, and 50% of the staff ain't wearing a mask themselves, and yet they're there all day with all these different customers coming in and out. So surely if anybody's wearing a mask, if you have to wear a mask, it should be the staff should be wearing them first. But like I said, half of the staff weren't even wearing masks. But then I'm walking around, I would say about 20% of the people aren't wearing masks, most are. But the ones who are wearing masks, I mean, I've seen them walking around with them, not covering the nose, so they've just got the mouth covered, but the nose still out. Like, you know what I mean? Not using the masks properly. I've seen people walking around with a mask on and then taking it down to talk to somebody when they're chatting and then put it back up. I went outside as there was somebody wearing a mask and then they pulled the mask down and thought, light a fag up and started having a fag. And I thought, what's the point of wearing a mask if you're just going to kind of not wear it properly or use it properly? It just defies logic, doesn't it, really? It just, honestly.
I can't get my head around this stuff, right? Because it's created between people who I've known for a very long time, Jim, and it's created a lot of debate. I'm speaking with people who, when this virus stuff kicks off, because I was unsure about viruses, I thought, who should I speak with? Who should I contact? You know, who would know about this? And so I thought, virologists. So I speak with them, and I went, wow, you've just explained that. So layman's terms, that's unbelievable. Yet I can put the information out what this virologist has said, yet somebody from healthcare who's a care assistant says that's a load of shit because they give paracetamol out and stuff. And that sounds a bit disrespectful, but I'm getting all these opinions on things, and it's sometimes it's me that they attack because of the information I put out. Yet a virologist will say you can't catch a virus, and I say why, and they say because your body creates a virus to deal with an infection to get rid of the whatever it is. That's an immune response. And I went, that makes a lot of sense. And she said, because it's basic biology. And I don't know what to say to people who want to complicate that, because with everything that I've dealt with, including civil law and litigation and legislation, if you're not simple, it's not correct with everything. So as soon as we start complicating things where people are being told that it's mandatory. Now, mandate is not law, right? Let's get that straight. It's not law, but citizens and other people think they can start enforcing this, so it creates a situation. They've done experiments with this. You know, was it the Stansted University experiment where they had inmates and prison guards where they played roles, and within hours they were, you know, abusing people because of this power? This is basic psychology, what is being imposed on masses. And what it does is, at the moment, Jim, from where I can see, is they're pouring, they've got an output going out and they're waiting for feedback. And they've got a bit of bouncing coming back and forth. I don't know if you've seen the protests that were in Sheffield yesterday, where Piers Corbyn was given a guest speaker's position. I know Gareth Ike was there. It's all kicked off. People have been arrested. There's a 73-year-old veteran been kept in custody and just about released. What is going on? You know, there's something not right about this, Jim. There really isn't.
What gets me motivated all at the moment, what's really starting to get on my nerves, is the kind of hypocrisy around the thing, and how the rules contradict one another. Because I'll give you an example now that I may be going to a funeral next week. Yeah. Now, this funeral, you can only have 30 people present at the funeral, apparently. But then after the funeral, we can all go to the wake, and as many people as they want can go to the wake if it's in a pub. So where's the logic in that? So
well, you know I've got an idea. I've got an idea about this, right? Because I had the same issue when somebody brought up about weddings. And I said, well, with a wedding, if the bridegroom and the bride's entourages get a protest together about the wedding, everybody can attend.
And it's like the protest, how they react with the protest, different protests, Black Lives Matter and stuff like that. Yeah. They kind of let them just, the police don't really try and get involved. And yet when it's Corbyn, Piers Corbyn the other day, he's been arrested twice now in two different meetings. Now, I know they'll say, well, they brought a new law in now where they'll arrest people who are organising these events and stuff like that. But it seems really... suspicious is the word, not the word, but you know what I mean. Targeted.
Would you be wary? Exactly. But although targeted, but would you not automatically be wary that there isn't an agenda behind Piers Corbyn, behind other people? Because you've got to get this balance going, because I've seen a lot online who are arguing with each other about who they should follow. take people's information, take people for how you interact with them, and don't take other people's information on how they interacted with them, because it's a totally different dynamic, Jim. You know it yourself. When you can actually speak to somebody face to face, you take up so much information that is not verbal. It's facial, it's body language, it's everything. You get a feel of somebody when you speak to somebody, and how they interact with you is you have to go with that. It's not how they interact with somebody else. It's your information, and you look information everywhere. As long as you can balance all that info up and not say, this is what I follow because this is true, because this is what I know. Because if there's one thing that I've learned in 48 years, there's so much I don't know, Jim.
Well, I don't think half these politicians know what they're doing, or do they? You probably said they do know what they're doing, and they're doing it deliberately.
Some do, some don't. Some do,
I'm
don't,
still torn between if they're completely complete imbeciles or if there's some kind of conspiracy behind it. I do tend towards the more conspiracy side of it now, I must admit, because there's enough evidence coming out now that this virus isn't as deadly as we all feared at first. I was one of them people at first who was really worried about it, because I was seeing it all kicking off in China and South Korea. I've said this before when I was on last time, and now they were all implementing lockdowns and building new hospitals, and they were calling it a novel virus. I didn't even know what a novel virus was at the time, but I looked it up and it said it's a virus that you've had no contact with before, so you'll have no immunity to it. And I'm thinking, Christ, if this comes over here, nobody seems to be taking it on board. So I was a bit panicky at first. I was one of the first people. I was one of the first people probably to start getting worried about it. But then, as time's gone on, the people who didn't give a shit about it are now worried about it, and I'm not worried about it anymore, because I think it's nowhere near as bad as we thought it was. Because, well, I'll give you an example of some of the things I've found out in the last week or two. There's experts here, and everybody can find their own experts. If you ever watch the show, what's the politics show, the comedy politics show, The Thick of It, there's an episode in that where they're arguing about experts, and one of these guys says, I've got this expert I can bring in and he'll explain it all to you. And he says, you've got an expert, I've got as many experts as I want. I've got experts coming out of my ass to support my point of view. Basically, he was saying that they can buy experts, and he'll bring in any experts he wants to prove his point. And that's true. I think that's how this is going. The scientists are disagreeing on things, but for some reason we've decided, or the politicians have decided, this is the way we're going with this virus, and this is what we're going to do about it. Now, you could give them the benefit of the doubt and say, well, they're doing it to safeguard people's lives and stuff like that. But I don't believe these politicians give a fuck about our lives, if I'm honest. They're more concerned about just keeping in power. So, but back to this novel virus thing, it was called a novel virus at first, and they did think it was a novel virus, but scientists since have discovered that it's not a novel virus at all. It was some Berlin scientists, I was reading a study about it, and they've done this research recently they've been testing random people in Berlin, people who've got it and people who haven't got it. And they were saying it's not a novel virus, and 34%, well, 1 in 3 virtually, just over 1 in 3 people are immune to it, because they've already had a variation of it in the past. So if 1 in 3 people's already immune to this virus that we're all panicking about, it's not very deadly, is it, really? So, and what else did I find? Oh, yeah, and then when you get your information from people, you'll have people you watch online who you trust. You've watched them over the years, and you get to trust them people's views because they mirror with your own views up to a point. But there's certain people I've followed on YouTube and things for the last 3 or 4 years. I'll give you an example of one of them. One of them's Chris Martinson. He did this.
Do you know what, Jim? You find. Sorry, Jim. You find that they share certain pieces of information that are so golden nugget, they fit into something that you were thinking of, and you wouldn't have joined the dot before, and they can completely oppose you on that. So I agree with you on that. Sorry for interrupting you, mate. Carry on.
There's this guy called Chris Martinson. Now I've been following this guy for several years. This is before COVID. I was more interested. He did a book called The 3 E's, and it was basically saying how we're coming into a peak crisis in society because of the three E's that he described them: energy, the economy, and the environment. Yeah. Now, you may agree or disagree with his views, but basically, he says the economy is fucked because it's a debt-based system, and it's coming to the fact that we'll never be able to pay all these debts off, and it's all coming to a head. And then he talked about energy because we're on fossil fuels, not global warming as such. It's the fact that it's going to run out eventually, and we'll have to find other like power sources to replace oil and gas and stuff eventually. Because they will, because they will run out eventually, won't they? I'm assuming everybody agrees with that. It might be quite a long time until they do, but it would be better for us to start getting ourselves off fossil fuels, just so we have power sources in the future, yeah? And then the other one he talks about is the environment, and how we're destroying the environment by cutting down all the Amazon rainforest and stuff like that, and how that affects things. And it's a really good book. And I've been following this guy for several years. Now, when this COVID thing kicked off, he picked up in it like at the same time I did at the beginning of the year, and he started doing a YouTube on his YouTube channel. He started following this COVID and giving all the latest information, and he was doing all this research every day of scientists what they've been saying about it. And at first he was very panicky, a bit like I was. He was panicking, thinking it was really bad. And recently, over the last 2 or 3 weeks, even he's acknowledged now that there's evidence coming out that it's nowhere near as bad as we thought. So he's changed his views. Now, I'm one of them people who, if somebody presents evidence to me, I will try and give it a decent viewing and come to an opinion about it. I won't completely dismiss it out of, completely just because I don't like the person who's telling me the information. I will give it a hearing at least. But it seems these days nobody does that. They all basically, they pick on somebody and then they just parrot the same mantra all the time. And they just stick with that all the time. They won't change their views, even if they're offered evidence to go against their views. They won't even consider it. And it really annoys me.
Look, Jim, person in question, I am banned from Lee Matters and from Lee Politics. And it is because the admin has a difference of opinion to everything that I've ever posted in those 2 pages. When I was posting about the debt-based economy, about the bills of exchange and about gas bills, he contacted me personally and told me how much bollocks and nonsense I was talking. But then he stated he'd never read the bills of exchange, didn't know about it, didn't want to know about it because he's an ex-copper and he should just be telling me not to do things. It was absolutely ridiculous, mate. And those are the people that you deal with when you were talking about offering evidence. I offered to meet the guy for a coffee, but no, he attacked me. He shouted at me. This is the typical of what I've come to encounter in what the police in general want as a populated front. Yet I've met individual men and women who are police officers who can think, who can take information and go, oh yeah, that does fucking challenge me a bit, that, Paul. I'll have a think about that. But then you've got these pillocks, absolute fucking bellends, Jim, and I have no time for them. I have absolutely no time for people like that. You have changed. I mean, we maybe not known each other, but we've known of each other for the best part of 40 fucking years because of mutual friends. But the factor is, in the few months with COVID, I've seen how you have changed because you've witnessed what has gone on. In history, these events that have all exploded all around us have gone, the last lot ended in cattle cars going to camps, and people got on them. And we all went, how the fuck did that happen? Why did people just do that? How did people just queue up and get on trucks, pack like fuck to camps? How does that happen? I wouldn't do that. Fucking Love Island's on, Corrie's on. They're not going to get me out of this house. What's so special about us, Jim?
Nothing.
Exactly.
Just nothing really.
Exactly.
I still have all the same worries and fears of all the other people in Lee, but they just seem. I mean, I know where it comes from, because at one point in life, I was in my own little bubble cocoon. I didn't give a damn what was going on around the world. I was just bothered about what happened in my own little bubble, you know, in my own household. As long as I had a job and I had food on the table, roof over my head, I didn't give a crap. One of them people said, "Hey, all politicians are corrupt. Fuck them," you know what I mean, kind of thing. I'd just vote once every 4 years, not really pay much attention until it came to an election, and then after that 9/11, it all kind of changed for me, because, like I said, at the time, my wife was heavily pregnant, and we had my daughter just a couple of months after it happened, and started thinking about the fuck's going on in the world. But anyway, that was a long time ago, 18 years ago now. How long has that gone since? 18. How many lies have we been told in the last 18 years? I mean, we went into Iraq and started a massive war in Iraq over a load of lies, saying he was involved in this 9/11 attack when he wasn't, and yet.
Hang on, is that the first? That's the second time, though. What about the first time?
Well, I mean, you have differing opinions on this 9/11 thing. I think it was a conspiracy, but I believe the conspiracy was the fact that they knew terrorists were going to attack, and they let them attack to suit their agenda.
But hang on. Let me ask.
Anyway,
did you hang on? Do you know about the information with General Wesley Clark, where he was contacted?
Yeah, I saw it.
Where he said they were going to invade 7 countries, blah blah blah. Right? Yeah. Do you not think that is more beneficial to the worldwide agenda, not America per se or USA, but it gives a gateway for the US military, which is quite powerful, to attack a country that is just nothing? Do you not think that there is a possibility there? Because that's all they ever put to you, Jim. I know you say we have a differing of opinion. I don't think we do. I think it's just that we are drawing patterns, and we never actually compare the patterns in the end.
I think the biggest difference between my worldview and your worldview would probably be you believe everything is like one. There's one organisation behind everything, kind of thing. Where I think I see all these scandals and lies that they tell, and the agenda they're trying to push, but I think it's more of a kind of US imperialist kind of thing, because I still believe China and Russia are not tied with America. They're enemies, basically. Well, you probably think they're more connected than I do.
Do you think Russia's not communist anymore? Do you think they're totally non?
It's just run by billionaire fraudsters who robbed the country when it became a capitalist country. I think 12 people got all the assets of all the major state assets. 12 people got them all.
Do you think Germany now is a socialist country like it was under Hitler?
No, it's part of a neoliberal European bloc.
Of what?
Well, the EU is basically. The EU is a power bloc, and it's run by Brussels, isn't it? And Germany, the German government is probably the biggest influencer in that organisation, definitely.
But the EU is allegedly based on, and a very good allegation based on a Nazi design for Europe, whereas you had the Bolshevik Revolution that was going to put communism all the way across Europe, and socialism was the alleged anti-communist, and that's what caused all the social breakup, all the countries breakup, where we had countries that never existed before being created left, right, and centre. You've got you've got the Freemason Illuminati letters that stated about the 3 world wars, where this would all be done to Europe. You've got a lot of hearsay evidence that shows a massive agenda to put all this into place. You've got the Kalergi-Kovalevin plan about demographics being targeted with ethnics because it breaks up communities, because it causes mistrust. This is all cultural. Then you've got cultural Marxism. You've got a massive lot. Can you use all that together? You've got a lot of hearsay evidence pushing a massive agenda there, Jim. That I know you say that
Well,
that's
do you
what I
think China,
believe in, but
do you
I
think
take
China and Russia,
evidence.
do you think Putin is part of this big plot? Because I think
I
Putin is
think
definitely an enemy of
I
the
think there's
West. In that, if
sorry,
I had to
I think
explain it right, if I had to explain it, mate, I'd say it's like when you read 1984 and there's three major power blocks. What is it? East Asia, Eurasia, and Oceania. That's the way the world is at the moment. It's like you've got East Asia would be China, Oceania would be the US, and then you've got Europe. But basically, Europe split between Russia and the EU. Basically, I mean,
I think that's how it was. I think that's how
all
it
right.
was.
If we go down this route,
I think it's more. You've got to get rid of countries. There's no countries in this. This is all business. This is all now corporations. That's what we're all fighting with now.
Yeah, but I agree with you that corporations don't like borders. Borders hinder trade in their eyes,
Exactly.
and it also.
That's what happened with Europe. That's all it's ever been based on, Jim. This is what the fuck is on it.
The difference between China and us is China is one run by the Communist Party, even though they're not communist anymore. They're more corporatist. And America is run by corporations. America is run by corporations, where China is run by the Communist Party, and Russia is run by Putin and his cronies, ex-KGB men. Them are the power blocks, in my opinion. There's three power blocks. They're not. I don't think they're connected at all. I think they're rivals. And unfortunately, I think our Western leaders look at China and think, I wish we could turn our country into China, where they spy on you all the time, you know, and you're all linked in on the database and everything. And they want to turn us into a version of China. And it's not because, in my opinion, it's not because there's a big new world order controlling everything. I think it's just because they want that power that Chinese have over the government has over the people. They want that kind of power over us. I mean, Tony Blair the other day. Tony Blair the other day going on about, we'll need, what was it? A digital ID to fight COVID, apparently. To fight COVID. What a lot of fucking bollocks. They want digital ID so they can keep an eye on you and track what you're fucking doing. We're not stupid. Well, I'm not stupid.
Mate, passports now. Passports are going to be health passports. So I've got to have had the vaccination in order to be able to travel to certain places. So this has always ever been about control. Do you know what? They recalculated the USA's figures of COVID, just COVID deaths, whatever we want to associate COVID is, which is a respiratory issue, right? But singular, just COVID deaths, they reduced from 150,000, Jimmy, to now just under 10,000. That gave it a 0.00027% death rate in America from a 300 million population. That is devastating to me, to think they've shut the entire world economy down. People have lost jobs. Businesses have gone, mate. Bailiffs.
Tell me about it. I'm going to lose my job, I think. I'm going to be out of a job in the next 2 months, definitely. There's no way I'm getting my job back. I'll be amazed if I do. And I've been sat at home for the last 2 months, 2 or 3 months. I got furloughed about 4 months ago now. And for the first month, it's kind of novel. Oh, yeah, I can stay in bed. I don't need to get up early in the morning. But after a month or so, soon wears off. Novelty soon wears off, I tell you. When you just sat at home and you see everybody else going to work, and you're thinking, Christ, I might be out of a job in the next couple of months. It's like you're in limbo. I think that's the biggest thing. It's like being in limbo. You don't know if I'm going to have a job or not have a job. And I'm just hanging around waiting to find out what's going to happen. It's very annoying, if I'm honest. And
Jim,
let me just go down this route with you, mate. My conspiracy theory, yeah. You know, you talk about this is my reasoning now on what's happening in the UK and in America and everything, yeah. The economy is on the verge of collapse, not because of COVID. It's on the verge of collapse because of debt, yeah, and corruption and all that fraud in the fucking Wall Street in the City of London. It's all coming to a head, yeah. And they want an excuse and something to blame the coming collapse on. And in my opinion, they are going to use COVID and this lockdown as the excuse for when it collapses. and they want to still stay in power. They don't want a revolution, so they want something to blame it on. So they're going to blame it on COVID. They say there's nothing we could do, you know. And then they're on about bringing in a new. What was the boot that I saw somebody posted on Facebook? Well, we're posting something about a new economic order coming in or something, or new reset. That's it, the reset. No, we do need some kind of fucking reset because it's all corrupt. But my argument is, who's going to be doing the resetting? Joe Public or the same people who caused all the corruption in the first place? And they wanted that. They're doing the resetting to make sure they're still top dogs. You understand what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm just, I'm trying to, Ray's telling me he's in the green room. He's not backstage at all, but he insists he is, mate. But he's not.
I can't get it. I told you. The app might not be working properly because, like I said, you know, the problems I've had to put my camera on its side because it wouldn't set properly for me. I don't know. Maybe the app's not working properly. StreamYard, I don't know. But
I don't know. It's always been the same. It's exactly the same stuff. It's very strange. He said.
So you can't see him there in your backstage.
No, he said. No, looking at Facebook, he's saying, "I have done. I'm in the studio." Well, I don't know what studio he's in, mate.
Well, he's
not in our studio. I don't know what to say. You were saying, Jim, about you being left in limbo. Has that had an impact on the family? Has it caused issues, or is it just always normal? Have you been able to talk it up?
Well, financially, it's not been too bad because although I'm only getting 80% of my wage, I'm not travelling in my car or anything. You know, I'm not spending money eating out at dinner times. So realistically, I wouldn't say I'm that much worse off at all at the moment. But as soon as end of October comes and they cut that furlough, I'll be out of the job and I won't give any dole money because my wife works. So that's straight away, it's a full wage out of the household. So it's like, I won't be spending any money on any going out or anything, will I? I'll just be buying food and paying for my cost of living and that'll be it. I won't have any spare money for spend. And there's going to be millions of people like me. I mean, they're estimating. You think about it now, when that furlough ends, yeah? All right, Paul.
All right, mate, I didn't want to jump in.
No, it's okay. You can jump in any time you want. I'm running out of chat already. Yeah, but what was I saying now? Oh, yeah. So on a financial basis, I'm not much worse off, but mentally, I don't want to sound trite about it, but I'm starting getting a bit annoyed, depressed. It's like building up inside. I can feel myself getting anger building up in me because of
suicide attempts and rates are up massively over this lockdown period.
I saw a study the other day.
That's quite frightening.
Someone did a study in America and they said 10% of people in America, in this study they did, have admitted to having suicidal thoughts over the past 12 months. 10% of people. And that's pretty bad if you get that kind of thing going on.
Not so bad.
8.5% suicides are up in the last 6 months in Wigan Borough.
Wow.
8.5%.
I mean,
that's the measured one.
That's just for living in Wigan.
That's just for us watching Latics, that.
And Wigan's posh part of Borough, isn't it?
Well, it used to be. I don't know if it still is. I come up to Leigh and I think, you've got a lot more than we have these days.
Fucking hell, our charity shops are shut, mate.
Well, we've got an offer here now, Wigan, man. You used to be the poor brother, but no, we've caught up with you past you now, mate, Wigan.
Do you know what, Paul? When I used to turn out in my heyday, people from, I'd say like around the world, but people from everywhere came to Leigh for a great night out.
Remember it, Rubens, I've still got the skirts.
Fucking, so have I, mate. And they're not all physical, mate. They're not all physical. I lost my house because of Rubens.
How sticky was that carpet in that place, man? I've never been
as fuck sticky as
based down on it a few times, yeah.
Paul's views on everything what's going on, anyway.
Yeah.
Paul's views.
What the fuck's going on, Paul?
It's crazy time, isn't it? It's like I was listening to what you said about the mask. Well, I've never worn one, me. Never worn one from day one. No, and it's like I think it's if you hold your nerve and you just go, not wearing one. You just leave you alone. That's what I found. Not wearing one. Nobody can give me any evidence.
Is it? So what was the problem, Ray?
I don't know. I don't know. It's just connected.
Right.
Oh, good.
Well,
I'm on. I'm here. I'm here.
Nice to see you anyway,
I
Paul.
knew you weren't there, mate.
You too.
Go on,
Yeah, you
Paul.
too.
Carry on what you say, mate.
Yeah, it's what you're talking about, the mask scenario and all that. I mean, that to me, that's just social conditioning. That, nothing more, nothing less. There's nothing medically. I mean, people keep saying to you, there's medical evidence. What? All I see is a meme where it shows you somebody's steam coming out of their mouth. That's not medical evidence. You know, and all these peer reviews, if you notice, you could sort of find them on Google, but now they've all gone missing. It's so hard to find any peer reviews now on a mask, and it's like, you know, they're just trying that information stream up so you can't use it as evidence when you debate with people. It's so hard to find these peer reviews now, because a lot of peer reviews said that if you wear a mask for a long period of time, is it the asphyxiation sort of thing? You start getting a bit dizzy and tired and all the rest of it. And then they turn around and say, well, surgeons worm for a different reason than for telling us to worm for. Surgeons worm so there's no sputum and spit goes into wounds while they're leaning over. We're supposed to be not breathing out condensation, which is a nonsense, because condensation finds its way out the sides and, you know, over the top of your nose and everything.
I'll tell you what, Paul, there was a fascinating study I saw where there is a great amount of surgeons who don't wear masks in surgery at all, because they've never seen any rise in infections. And that is why because I don't understand viruses, right, I go and speak to somebody who would understand viruses, like a virologist. And when they say to me, putting this mask on is the equivalent of putting a chain link fence around my garden and expecting it to keep out mosquitoes, I'm not going to put all my faith into this. But I have seen I said to Jimmy earlier, I'm sat in Lee outside Costa having a coffee with our kid, and I'm going, I've never seen as many welders and surgeons walk around Lee. You know,
I just don't know. I mean, the looks I get off people, it's like you'd think I took the firstborn off them. It's like,
you're pissed on the kids, mate. You're pissed on the kids.
That's what I mean. You're killing kids and old people. It's like, not
you're
really.
killing grandma.
Oh yeah, I've had all that. Yeah. You should know.
Ray,
better.
what's your take on this, mate? What the fuck's going on, Ray?
Right. Well, I think we're in a pretty bad place, aren't we? Let's be honest. It's
not to fucking
I honestly
stream on that.
Listen up. I honestly don't believe that there are some people who are on a totally different planet. They are not grasping this situation. They're just not grasping it. I mean, we spoke about all this mass business last week, and we the other week when I was on, and I think we were all agreeing that this COVID business, in one form or another, we just don't agree with it. But we went into all the detail on that episode we did. I just think now, Paul, personally, you can only do so much. You can keep putting the word out, but like I heard you discussing earlier, because I was actually listening to you on YouTube, you can only put so much stuff out, and then people start to ignore. They're ignoring you. You can only do so much. So what you've got to do then is obviously keep putting stuff out there. That's really important. But there's only so much you can do to try and convince people. There's only so much you can do.
Some people are just not coming back.
No. You could present to them. I heard you saying earlier, I don't know who was saying, I think it was you, Paul. You can present to people full, guaranteed, authentic statements from any. They don't want to know. They don't want to know for whatever reason. But let's be honest now, guys. To me, this is how I see it. We're at a really critical stage. Really critical. And people need to start either getting on board with it, or I want to look now more, where are we going to go from here? who's going to take us there? How do we do it? You see, my thoughts are this. It's fantastic to have all these meetings like in London. It's fantastic. I'm not knocking it. It's good stuff. But I personally think what we need, Paul, is people like yourself doing things like this, but a lot of them. Lots of different small groups, more than one big one. We need to get the word out there. Because this, to me, you've got to look, first of all, is everybody in agreement with who's actually controlling this lot? I think, to me, you have been sort of discussing it, but to me, you've got a very small, I don't know what you want to call them. I'm going to call them puppet masters. I'm going to call them puppet masters. And I'm like you, Paul, there are no borders here. I'm not talking governments. It's the people who are calling the shots. And they are definitely calling them. They are definitely calling them. Just look at Australia. These are not governments.
No.
People have got to get their heads around this. If they keep, I'm still see people discussing politics and governments, and it's. You could overthrow the government.
I'll tell you what. If you see what the Victorian police chief has
I've seen it, mate.
Recently,
I've seen it.
have you seen what he stated? It's absolutely disgusting what he is stating. But that's all.
You're having to pinch yourself, Paul. I'm pinching myself. I'm going. Come to planet Earth, guys.
What the fuck?
This is Australia. This is Australia. This is not China. It's like China on steroids in Australia. This is Australia.
You put the History Channel on, don't you?
China own Australia.
Yeah.
China own Australia.
Yeah. Well, they own a lot of this.
You are seeing the imposition of
Manchester.
I'll be honest with you guys.
All the commodities and resources up anyway across Europe and South America. I used to do a lot of traveling to South America and Chile. The copper mines, the gold mines, the silver mines, the Chinese own all them commodities and infrastructures over there. And it's like, what do? They own everything. What can you turn around and say? Get stuff. You're not having anything.
Well, to be fair, you said China owns everything, but it's a Chinese elite own everything. Most Chinese people are like us. They have not got
of course. The CCCP,
to me, guys.
Well, I don't even know what that is anymore. So I think it was Lobbygobbler was saying it's not even it's a crony capitalist party now, and it's not even a communist party. It's an oligarchy capitalist, isn't it?
The difference.
I think what I'm trying to say, guys.
Go on. Sorry.
Sorry.
No, come on.
Please do, Paul. Go on. I'm just saying, guys. For me now, this is where I am. I don't know about you guys. I've talked that much about COVID, about the facts and figures, the numbers, the maths. I've been over it so many times, as you know. And I'm now at a point where going, I can't say any more on that front. That front's covered. Now it's, where do we go from here? We can keep talking about, but someday now I'm looking for somebody or a way or something. How is this going to pan out? Because if people think it's bad now, this is going to sound terrible what I'm going to say now, and I hope it doesn't come across wrong. And forgive me, guys, if it does, because I don't mean it in a bad way. You know what? I heard you talking about redundancies, Jimmy. I heard you talking about redundancies and yourself. And it's awful. It really is. But you know what? For some people, that's what it, I'm not saying for you, by the way. For some people, that's what it's going to take. Until they're made redundant and no work and everything else, it's going to need something big to jolt them into action. What the hell's going on here?
I know what you mean,
so if I'm being honest,
Ray, I've always said, when I was doing the court stuff, when I was up against the gas and British Gas and all that caper, and I said about the ridiculous things about your gas being free, people attacked me rather than understand what was going on. And that, until that knocks on their door that something's going to happen to them, they won't do anything.
Paul, that is the same with absolutely everything. So what I'm saying is this, and it's a terrible thing to say. It's going to come across wrong, I know it is. But I want the redundancies in this first lot now to be quite high. I do, because I'll tell you why. If it's not, I know it sounds terrible, but if this now doesn't take people and it spreads out, let me tell you, it's going to be too late to do anything. Because once they get control, for me, they've already got control of the governments. Now, let's be honest, Paul, and I think you'll agree with me on this. I personally, I don't know what Jimmy thinks, and I just don't know what you guys think. But to me, all these organisations, nearly everyone I can think of, education, medicine, politics, banking, it's all infiltrated and controlled by criminals. That's what I feel.
I wouldn't disagree with you on that one.
Right. So let's think about this properly, guys, what that actually means. When they have full control of that, they have full control of everything. Your welfare state, your social system, your benefit payments. If they then bring the private sector down, which they're making a bloody good job of up to now, and they squash all the private sector, and then you're reliant on that new state, it's too late then. You won't be able to do anything then. You're completely knackered. Completely knackered. You've no money. You're hungry. They're controlling everything. They've got everything. What the hell can you do about it then? It's too late. If people want to do things, they want to wake up now and say, look, what's going on here? They're crushing businesses. It's simple, isn't it, guys? It's a simple equation. This, I said it before. You ask yourself this question. Let me just finish this one, please, Paul.
Yeah,
you ask yourself this question. You ask yourself this question. Are they doing these measures now for public health? Does anybody here today know, and you guys who are listening, are they doing this for public health of the nation, or is it for some other reason?
Some other reason.
And if it's for some other reason, if you don't believe it's public health, it's some other reason. What reason would that be? It's going to be dodgy.
Well, I'll give you my opinion, mate. I'll give you
centralisation of power.
My opinion is the economic system is collapsing. It's collapsing. It was already starting to collapse.
I agree.
And they need a cover story.
I agree.
They don't want to turn around and say, yeah, it's collapsed because we've been making all this money out of nothing and giving it to ourselves and now it's become worthless. They're going to say, COVID caused all this trouble and we're going to have to step in. Yes. And it'll be the same big massive corporations who get all the contracts, because what they're going to have to, the only way they're going to save the economy is by creating jobs, by doing some massive projects. And it's people get all this money from these massive projects. The banks still go and borrow a load more money from banks. Instead of printing it themselves and spending it into the economy, they'll just borrow it from banks.
The same people have had the bailouts again, though. The same people have had the bailouts again. And I think you're right, Jimmy, actually, because if you turn around and said it's because of the banks this crash has happened, there would have been civil war. But could you blame it on the COVID? Well, we understand that. We understand.
It's exactly that, Paul. It's exactly that, Paul. But this is where I think they're going. They want as many companies as possible to collapse. Then you're going to be completely reliant on them. When they get to that stage, it's too late. And look,
they've been ready for this. They've all been ready for this, even at lower level council. They've had these SDF hubs and managers in place. They've been ready for it.
Yes.
And it's like, wow, how quick were they so ready for this?
Paul, just think about it. Paul, everybody, actually, Jimmy, anybody wants to listen, just think about this. Look how far we've come in a few months. Just think if they did exactly the same again over the next 6 months. Can you imagine where we'll be? And it'll be too late.
But the thing
is, too late. Then what? Once they've got control of everything, and you've seen how police now are under there, and once they've got everything in place, they want you reliant on the state. And I'll be honest with you, Jimmy, I remember at the time I was trying to get my head around this Marxism business, because to me, I dropped the ball on that. I dropped the ball. I heard people talking about it. I thought, why do they keep talking about this? But you know what now? To me, it's like reading a book. It all fits in. They want you reliant on state, the new state, their government, not this government, the world government. That's how I see it. There's massive things taking place. Let's not hide from it. It's massive, this. If they did the same over the next 12 months even of what they've done over this 6 months, we're well in the poo-poo. You can't. How'd you pull back from that? What would you do as an individual? Nothing. You'll be there. If somebody says to you, Jimmy, you're out of work. Let's just look at your case, Jimmy. You're out of work. You can't find a job, and they put even more people out of work with these lockdowns. So instead of saying, I don't know, let's just some figures. Instead of saying 3 or 4 million being out of work, let's look at 8 million people being out of work. And you were looking for a job, and you can't find one. So they say, oh, you can come, you can do this job, but it only pays so much. Or you're out of work and you're only getting a welfare payment, but they've got control of the welfare system, which they could have. They could have a complete control of all these systems. They're controlling the government now. They've got to be.
Why do you guys always call everything Marxist? All these bad things are all Marxist. There's not Marxist. Marxism is just an economic theory.
I know it is, Jimmy. Jimmy, I appreciate that, but think about it. It is Marxism.
A rich banker is not a Marxist. He's a rich banker trying to rob the world. He's not a Marxist. Let me as well. Fuck him.
Jimmy, I know what you're saying, but the means of production.
I know Jimmy collectivism.
Jimmy, right? Let me just say how I'm using Marxism here. Marxism is a political theory. You're quite right, Jimmy. Right, but they are the means of production.
It's not even a political theory; it's an economic theory.
Well, okay, an economic theory. Okay, it's an economic theory. Well, think of it like this.
There's many people think theory is fact. Many.
Right, the means of production is with the state. The new state will be the corporations.
So it's corporatism. It's not Marx. It's not communism. It's
but they're working it on Marxism to the people who are backing them. All these Black Lives Matter and Marxist groups who are supporting them. They're making it look that way.
It's centralisation of power. That's what it all stems down to.
Yes, same thing, isn't it?
Can I just say something about this Black Lives Matter? An interesting fact I didn't realise.
Use everything.
I read somewhere the other day that these Black Lives Matter protests in America, there's been thousands of protests, and 97% of these protests have been completely peaceful, and they've just demonstrated, then gone home, and then there's only 3% of them been violent. But them camera crews are there to show them because they're trying to get us against one another. They're trying to show the extremists on one side. I mean, you've got Fox News that go on all day telling you that it's all Marxists and communists and socialists who are about to destroy America. Yeah. And then you've got CNN saying Donald Trump's going to destroy America.
No, you're right.
And they're just playing.
Can I ask you, Jimmy, are you a Marxist? Are you a socialist?
I'm just a left-leaning bloke from League. I won't say I'm Marxist. But this way, I have never read a book of Marx. I've never
read
and Conquer. I've read things that break down what he talks about. I do follow a guy called a Marxist professor who does good podcasts called Professor Wolf. I've been following him.
Wolf,
Now he's a Marxist. He studies Marxist theory and he teaches Marxist theory.
Yeah.
But like he says, it's the thing about Marxism is it explains how capitalism, how it works, and the end game is that because it's like a dog-eat-dog system, the biggest dog eats the smallest dogs, and you end up with everything centralised in massive corporations, and it becomes an oligarchy with a few elites controlling everything. That's what
this is the trouble in it through crony capitalism, because I don't think we've ever had free market capitalism, have we? You know,
not really.
It's always been interfered through with government, hasn't it? Governments have always interfered with what you can and can't do. You know, they've never let it operate in the free market, have they?
Well,
no matter what economic system, guys, political system, economic system, what I'm saying is this: who's going to give it to us?
Nobody.
Exactly. Where's it going to go from here? Unless there's now loads and loads of people pushing back against this.
I mean, I would say I'm left-wing, in a sense. Definitely left-wing more than right-wing. But I can still see how, just because I'm left-wing doesn't mean I'm more authoritarian. I'm more a libertarian. In fact, if I go down this route, I'd probably say I'm more an anarchist than I am a socialist. Because I'd like, if I had my ideal world, everybody would work in like a small cooperative society where if you had a factory, it would be owned by the workers, and the workers would own it, and the workers would.
That's not anarchy, is it? Though that's
yeah, anarchy is
centralisation again.
Anarchy has got a finger. Basically, they describe anarchism as though it's chaos. It's not chaos. It's without rulers. It's literally without rulers. Anarchism is without rulers. The workers control the means of production, as in you'll vote on who's your boss, kind of thing. And he'll only get the same wage as you, but he'll sit in an office. You might work on shop floor, but you'll all be getting paid the same wage, and you all get equal shares in the company. They're like cooperatives. In their world, everything would be a cooperative.
Mate, that's communism.
That sounds like communism.
Cuba runs on that.
Communism is different. Communism is where you have your state bureaucracy controls everything. Anarchists are against. Anarchists know that the state always becomes corrupt. That's why they split when they had the first.
I thought anarchy was next to far right, isn't it? So it's more about your individual rights than the collective rights, isn't it?
Anarchy is more that you don't need the rules. You don't need the rules and legislation because you're willing to abide by natural law.
You have rules and laws. You just don't have rulers.
Yes, exactly. You can.
I may be wrong,
guys.
But
can I just ask you, please?
You don't have GMP. You have a law bad.
When Karl Marx came up with his theories, and they had a big international the first communist international they had, where all these working class people from all around Europe got together and discussed his theories. And the anarchists broke away from the communists because they said, at the end of the day, it's the state that controls everything, and whoever controls the state will just become the new boss. Basically, anarchists argued that your capitalist theory, where you say communists say the state should run everything, they said you'll just replace the capitalists with the state, and that's what anarchists were against. So they were for workers' rights, but they're against a big brother kind of state running it all. Now, I don't think you'll ever get there. This is a utopian view because I don't think you'll ever get this. You know what I mean? Let's be realistic. You do need some kind of state system.
Well, they always start off small governments, don't they? Then they just expand, don't they?
But, you know, in my ideal world, you'd have little small states like Britain, England is easy. Like Wales, 5 million people. That's a big enough state. You could have a little state there. Can't even 5 million people working together.
To be fair, Jim, that's how we used to always be. We used to be in boroughs. Our boroughs, when you look at the councils and how the legislation is labelled at the councils, all your debts in this economy are labelled at the councils. The trouble is, we all have corrupt councils, and the councils corrupt the police, they corrupt the judiciary. I've witnessed that with my own eyes and my own physical being because of what they did to me when I asked questions. They call down police and question authority. We see where this is. All those boroughs have been split up, and now we've got diversity like fuck in amongst us that has caused more cultural barriers, language barriers, all this shit's going on, and now you've got this stuff on top.
All I'm saying, guys, what I'm saying is, and please tell me if you think this is wrong, this is already sorted. Us debating this is irrelevant. You've sorted it. Do you believe that corporations are going to be running show? Is that what you believe?
I do.
Does everybody here believe that?
That's what they want.
That is what's happening.
Right. So that's what's happening. Us talking about Marxism and this and that won't change what they're doing. What I'm saying is that is happening. Where do we go from here? What should the population be doing?
Well, it's that philosophy that's got them to this point where they're passing legislation that are doing this. This is why people are now waking up to the fact that the coronavirus shite, absolute bollocks, but that bill, that act, states that police can enter properties without warrants on suspicion of somebody having symptoms or not having symptoms of something that they can't test for.
So,
that is dangerous legislation. Hang on, but that's dangerous legislation that employees are acting on. We're seeing what's happening in Victoria, in Australia. This is a test bed. We see many test beds. Australia and New Zealand are a massive test bed because they've always been corporate, at the very least since the early 70s. They've always been corporate. Even though they come under common law jurisdiction because of our jurisdiction, they have always been civil law. You can have your, in New Zealand, you can have a demerit of 2 weeks ban from your driving license for, I don't know, just acting like a bell end on the road.
So what do the population and businesses need to do now? What do we need to do? What's the next move? How do we change this? How do we as people who live in under this, how do we change it?
Don't comply with
like
it.
you said, mate. It's people live in their own bubbles, and until your bubbles burst by some outside force, most people will just plod along and accept the status quo. Now, in 2 months' time, when they pull this furlough scheme, and I think at least 2 million people are going to end up on the door, in my opinion. I might be wrong.
I think there'll be more.
Maybe more. I don't know, but that'll burst a lot of bubbles. That's what I'm trying to say to you. And then they'll be looking for answers. But the thing what worries me is when people start looking for answers, but they haven't done much research on anything, they can fall for like false prophets and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
That's what my worry.
And that's what all I'm bothered about, Jimmy. The longer this goes on, the harder it's going to be to pull back. Because you've seen what they've done in a few months. It's scary what they've done in a few months.
But I'm a bit like you, mate, in the sense that even though I don't wish it on everybody, because I don't want there to be loads of people lose their jobs. But
of course.
Until it's just a fact. Until it gets really bad and there's millions really angry people, nothing's going to change. But then
I know, but there again, Jimmy, we don't want it to get that bad that people can't do anything, because when you're desperate, you're knackered. You're knackered. And that's what I'm saying. The time's now. People, we need to be looking at now. What's up? We need a leader. We've no leader. There's nobody coming to the fore to help anybody. I'm not seeing anybody. If I'm being honest, I know you're going, I'm not saying it's some saviour. You've heard me say this before, and don't forget I voted for Corbyn. The only person who I can see is pushing against this is Trump. That's the only person I'm seeing with any sort of pushback against this.
If Trump's pushing against,
I think you're going to see. I think you're going to see food shortages very soon.
Oh, we are.
You're going to see a strangulation of food.
Definitely. But what I'm saying, Paul, there's no answers here, and I'm not saying we should be able to give them. But normally, with a situation, you can say, "Well, if we do this and do this and do that, or if he does that," but I'm not seeing anything or anybody who's going to give us the answers.
Right,
I know what you're saying about Trump.
Yeah. If Trump's the answer, why did he give
$5 trillion
to the bankers? Why did he bail out the bankers with $5 trillion a few months ago?
Well, he pushing the vaccine as well.
I know, but I don't know if he's doing that. I don't know if he's being smart though, Paul, because to me, he's a lot smarter than I thought that I give him credit for. I've looked at it best I can. I'm not saying he's some bloody angel. What I'm saying is this: he's the only person to me with any sort of pushback against it. I'm not saying he's going to be, but he has to be smart. I think he's played some smart moves. I really do. He's a lot smarter than I thought. But I'm thinking, who else is there? Can you see any other leader what's giving you any form of hope to change this situation?
But what hope?
Because I'm not seeing. Sorry.
What hope is he giving you? What hope is Trump giving you? Because the way I look at it, right, the only difference between Trump and Biden is on politics. On economic politics, they're exactly the same. They'll both end up. They'll both quite happily join the military-industrial.
No, hang on. I don't. Trump can remember his own name when he looks in the mirror.
Well, yeah.
I'm not so sure about Joe Biden.
The fact that they put Biden up as a candidate is a disgrace. The bloke literally has dementia. It's obvious.
I disagree.
I disagree. Women as well, doesn't he? I'll give Trump his credit. He goes for supermodels and legal-aged women, doesn't he?
What I would say, I think there is a difference. I think there is a difference, Jimmy. I think there is a difference between them. Trump,
there's a difference.
He is a nationalist. He's a nationalist. He's not a globalist. Now, this world domination is a globalist agenda. Now, I don't see Trump like that. So, to me, He's the only hope. I don't see anybody else. Who else is there?
Hitler was a nationalist. Hitler was a nationalist.
Yeah, I know, but Paul, who is there? I'm not being funny. Ray Mazey is not going to change the world. I want a leader. I want somebody who's going to. Who is it?
If us 4 people had a vote in the US election, right, who would you vote for? Because I'll tell you now, if I was voting, I'd vote third party. I couldn't vote for either of them. I couldn't vote for Biden and I couldn't vote for Trump.
I'd vote for Trump. I'd vote for Trump, undoubtedly, because there's nobody else out. I can't see. This is what's really bothering. This is what's really bothering me, guys. Who's going to change this situation? Seriously, who's going to change it?
Perhaps
we're talking here.
Movement, don't we?
Sorry.
Perhaps we need some kind of grassroots movement where each town promotes their own guy to represent them instead of going for a political party. Just vote some local guy you all trust for run, or some local lady. You know what I mean?
Well, that's me.
That's why I'm asking Paul. Paul, you've decided to put your head above the parapet and grow a few balls and go and challenge starting at councils and stuff like that. Now I know people who've gone at councils and councils treat you as a cunt. Councils don't like you challenging their narrative.
Of course, you've never seen me out the paper, obviously, since I got elected. I mean, nobody knew who I was till I got elected and started challenging them. And it's like the bullshit I've been in the papers for over the last 2 years is unbelievable. You know, sexism, racism.
It didn't help you. It didn't help you being with the most vilest comic ever. You're associated with the most vilest Wigan comic ever.
I can't stop it if he does films, videos of me. I mean, my stand-up comedy was different for me. So it's like saying Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd, oh, you're the same band. No, just because we play on the same bill doesn't mean we're the same band. You know, that it's one of them. My material wasn't as dodgy as his. It was always self-deprecating, my material. It was always aimed at me. So if anybody was offended, they were offended because I was hurting myself, So it's like, fuck off if you're upset with that. Then
Jimmy's just weird, I get you.
Jimmy's just, I'm not saying anything in case he's watching this. He'll make about 300 videos of me.
Well, I've texted him but last time I got him on the show, within minutes, his phone was dying to get him on the show. So I've texted that number I had. I don't know if he's changed his phone or what. But I invited him on to throw his bit in, but I'm glad you come on. Like I said, you've seen what's going on as you're climbing up these levels, because if you take the Freemasonry away, you still see the levels of councils and stuff like that. And you must be getting challenged, because I know local councillors have been banned from council meetings. So
well, that's me and Bob have been banned, but I just turn up to them anyway, because they can't arrest you. There's only you lot can get rid of a councillor in the town hall. The cops can't come into a town hall unless you give somebody a good hard in that, which I'm not up to yet. I'm getting close, but not there yet. But no, I mean, the corruption in there, it's like, but you tell people about it and they don't believe you. It's like going back to this coronavirus. The amount of people who I talk about it's bullshit, but they're like, I just want to get along for getting along's sake. And before you know it, you'll be getting on a train to Auschwitz and you'll have a Jewish star on your arm and you go, as you're getting along to get along there. And that's how it always ends up in tyranny, isn't it? I'm just getting along to get along.
You see, exactly.
Just get on that bus there, mate. Just get on that bus.
Yeah, it's going to an ass camp called Auschwitz. You'll be okay.
I don't know, maybe you guys are feeling different, but to me, you see, politics are finished. There are no politics now. It's gone. We're not controlled by politicians. No. That's finished now. That's how I see it. I don't see any politicians running anything. Those orders are coming.
They're taking more and more decisions off councillors and politicians, and civil servants are given more executive powers to make decisions. It's like all the planning applications in Wigan, just things like that.
Civil service has always run everything. Yes, Minister, yes,
Prime
more Minister.
So now. It's like I have less and less power every year to challenge UBC, which is basically saying you the people, because you put me where I am. You don't put civil servants where they are.
Yeah.
And it's
talking
like
about local councils. Did you see the one where they said, you know, these lorry parks they're going to have to build for Brexit?
oh yeah.
They said they can override any council and build them where they want or something.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Well, that'll be. I wonder how people will react if they build one like in this area, the big massive lorry park for all these lorries. Man,
but all these things were happening now, guys. All this stuff, it's all to me. It don't matter. All these orders are coming from above. Lockdowns come from above. They're not coming from politicians. We're being controlled, but sorry.
It's come from the UN. I mean, people think I'm mad when I talk about UN Agenda 21.
Of course it is.
It's even in Wigan.
It's Agenda 21. You took the words right out of my mouth, Paul. It's Agenda 21.
People think I'm bonkers. It's in Wigan Council documentation. You have a look on Wigan Council's website. They're implementing Agenda 21 for sustainability, emptying the bins, this green bollocks revolution. They keep talking about green jobs.
Yeah, but that's what I mean, guys.
Taking resources off you. Taking more resources off you.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know what to say anymore, because there's nothing now where I can sort of give some sort of, when we're talking about coronavirus, is it real and all the rest of it? Yeah, I get all that. But from now on, I'm thinking, what's going to happen now? Where do we go from here? The big boys are controlling this, and until them big boys tumble.
Seeing as we're back on coronavirus, I've just remembered something I was going to mention earlier on, which I forgot there. There's a guy called David DeGraw. Now, David DeGraw was part of the guy who organised the Wall Street protests in 2009, Occupy Wall Street.
All right.
He was one of the main instigators of that, yeah. So I've been following him for quite a while. And he's put out a thing on his Facebook the other day, a massive long post that he put out. And he was explaining that there's a lot of scientists now have been doing tests with drugs to fight coronavirus. And they found that some drugs that are readily available really help people who have got it and like help cure them. Let me remember. I wrote it down. They're called ivermectin. One of them's called ivermectin, and one's called doxycycline or something, doxycycline or something. And he was saying they're both readily available drugs that you can make for $2 a tablet. But because there's no patent on them and anybody can make them, they don't want that, these fingers. So he said these pharmaceutical companies are pushing on politicians with their bribe. I said bribe. It is a bribe, but they like finance them, don't they? Give them donations and shit. It's just a fucking bribe. But they're getting these politicians to hide the facts that these drugs work because they don't want you using them drugs. They want to come up with a brand new drug that they can patent and charge you $50 a tablet for. And he put this massive post. I thought, to me that rings true. It rings true. I could see him doing that.
It is true.
Yeah.
Of course it is. And that's my point. All these organisations, everything's infiltrated. Everything is controlled by other people. Education, health, banking, everything. I can't think of anything, I don't think, which is corrupt. Everything's corrupt. That's how I see it.
Well, when you look at the education system,
universities are controlled by
universities.
But the education system is the Nazi education system, which give me control of your children, and we are educated in such a way. It's like when I bring in the debt-based economy, we are taught to work hard, pay our bills. Me and Jimmy have had many a conversation where our parents taught us to do that. Well, paying my bill makes my life worse because national debt goes up, believe it or not. So I must set it off. So in other words, I've got to act in a certain way. And I am purposely not taught that way. So when I'm not taught that way, and yet I'm speaking to people like Alex Thompson of the UK column, who used to work for GCHQ, who went to Eton. And I said to him, you're taught the Bills of Exchange Act by the age of 13. And he said, of course, Paul, how else would we steal all your equity and leave you with all the debt?
Well, I mean,
we're getting interfered with here, guys, I
mean, not me. I'm not part of the Labour Party. I don't do that. That's you. It's they don't teach you how to leverage debt, though, do they? You know, and all the business people I know, millionaires, it's like they want debt so they can go to the bank and go, I've got all this debt, lend me some more money so I can leverage it. And it's a different language from what we play. You know, we think, oh, I won't get that car, I can't afford it this week. Millionaires go, yeah, get it, because we're leveraging debt, and the more debt they rack up, the more the banks give them, so they don't lose everything. It's a weird, crazy system.
But we don't realise where
everything
that money
about our
comes
complete
from.
system needs bringing down. It needs starting
Click of a finger, innit?
Everything's screwed up, and it is. Banking system's screwed up. I know there's school doctors on there. Medical system is. Education is. That's what I think, anyway. I think it's all corrupt.
But like you were saying, Paul, your councils are commercial entities. They have financial directors. You know, everybody's a director at the council. There's a bin director. There's this director. What other companies have directors? Private companies. Councils are now all traded on the privy stock market. The police forces they're all commercial entities. Every one
They're
of
all
them.
subcontractors, though. They're all subcontractors as well.
When
When you look at the policy, it's all subcontract.
When I was in teaching, college is a business. Everything's a business.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, Brexit Party weren't even a political party. It was registered as a business, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think Roy seized up his screen,
it was him that was having all the interference.
Was he having a meltdown though, eh?
I think he is having a meltdown. I think everything is, because you know, you were talking about banks lending money, Paul, and with what I work with, my mortgage, when we're going for mortgages, right, banks cannot lend money. They're bankrupt. They are facilitating credit. So when you go in, you sign a document, and they say, don't date it, just sign it. And they go out and they leave the room, and they come back in. They say, great news, we can do that mortgage for you. Let's call it 100 grand. So we can facilitate that £100,000. Here's our terms and conditions. And you sign without reading anything to give power of attorney, because that's what you already did. When they left the room, you gifted them power of attorney to act as you, to see whether you're worth the facilitation. And it's, do you know what, off the top of my head, it would probably be £400 plus VAT you owe the bank to facilitate £100,000 of credit. So they change credit into cash. And you sign a document that says the debtor will pay the creditor so much a month plus interest, or you will forfeit the property that you've got. They don't tell you that you are creditor and debtor, and they don't tell you that in the interest payments there is a third-party liability insurance under the European Parliamentary Directives 2006 that they take third-party liability in case you default. So upon default, insurance pays out. Why are they going for property? And that is what is primed in October when the bailiffs come. That's where this is going.
Nothing happens at the end of October. They actually start.
It's the end of the mortgage holiday. End of the mortgage holiday. End of the eviction holiday. Yes. Yeah. This is where we're going with this. This is all by design with the banking system. And you know, we can debate about corporate takeovers, communist takeovers. All of this manifests into this one world currency, one world health, one world everything. Yet people can't differentiate and come up with a question where a man called Bill Gates can own a firm, a company that has a SARS-CoV-2 coronavirus patent 2015 that is now mutated into a COVID-19 that we can't test for, but he's just so happens to have the vaccination for it that you must have, that's going to have all your biometrics and your money on, and you're not going to be able to buy or sell anything if you don't have this. And nobody's got any questions.
They're definitely going for that, aren't they? For the card. The card, like China, basically, they're trying to turn it into a China. Where you have a card, and if they cut you out of the system, you can't spend no money or anything. It's definitely going that way.
That's the big orgasm for these.
That'd be me.
The
That does look
5G
knackered, isn't it? You start criticising the government, your credit's turned off. Crikey, that'll be.
Fuck me. I'll tell you what, try and cross a road. Try and cross a road and your face lights up on a big billboard and goes, fuck me, bad citizen. Look at that bastard.
It's bad enough when I walk in the town hall with Bob Riley. It's like, they're here. You know.
I spoke with Bob a few times about this debt-based stuff. And it was before he had a bit of illness. And it was before he took ill. And
he will do if you mention money to Bob. He always gets ill if you mention money.
No, but
especially me all shit as well.
But it's brilliant how this stuff it's got to become local because
it has got to be local because I think political parties are done and dusted. I really do. I think they're finished.
I've given up on them.
Voting for political parties, it's just a complete joke, you know. Because if you're in a political party, and it's like you representing Wigan, and you're getting your orders from down south, it's like, but nobody wants that up north here. You know, I mean, that's the beauty about me being independent. I can go, well, nobody wants that in Wigan.
I'll tell you what, Paul, people said to me, and I know my relatives would be spinning over the fact that it's now Conservative, right? But it was so simple.
Conservatives, are they?
Well, but what I'm saying is they voted for this Conservative, right? But they did it because Conservatives said we were leaving Europe. Labour said we were staying. And it was that simple what split this town, because there is nothing. We've gone from a very wealthy, self-fulfilling town where we had mills, we had engineering, we had everything going for us, to where we stack shelves. And that's been done on a purpose. It's been done on a purpose. And do you know what? It's very easy to say, fucking Wigan.
Well, they took your identity away from you because it's like you're Wigan Council now, you're not Lee. Well, Lee has its own identity. Can you be Wigan Council? I hate saying I'm a Wigan councillor in Lee. It's like, no, Lee's a separate town and should have its own town. Oh, you know, I agree with that. You know, I get Lee lads coming to me all the time. You should have nothing to do with Lee. I agree with you. I'd vote tomorrow for you, have your own town, all that. That's your own town, you know. And I'm in a town.
We've not got it, Paul. We haven't got it.
Look at me. I'm in Makerfield.
But there's no communities. They're split. They're divided. I live, you know, you've got areas that 30 years ago, if I'd have said to my dad, hey, that's called Little Romania, he'd gone, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And it's scattered with them, and local people, elderly people, are left lonely and abandoned. And you've got people begging to help these people. You've got people getting themselves in trouble for all kinds, but it's all for the right reasons. And if we don't talk about this stuff, because you're spot on. I used to know people, I vote Labour. Why? Because my dad did. That isn't good enough. It's really not.
Labour Party's gone now, and it's dead. It doesn't exist anymore.
Do you know when you said about the mortgage thing coming up, where people are going to have to start paying the mortgages again, and that holiday period's gone? I was seeing a stats in America the other day. One of the podcasters I watched, he stated this fact that over 30% of Americans last month failed to pay the rent or the mortgage. Over 30% of Americans couldn't afford to pay the rent or the mortgage. So how fucked is that country? And you know they're not going to affect
it. It's over, isn't it? Because once a certain percentage don't pay the debts, it's done, isn't it? You know, you can only accept for a small amount of people not paying debt. You know, I think it is 30% stop paying it. It's over, isn't it? It's like, it's done, it's over.
Oh, is it though? You know what they'll do? They'll just probably print a load more money and give it to the banks, or replace the money they ain't getting from people paying the debts off. That's what'll probably happen. But hopefully they'll have a revolution when that happens. When people are losing the house, well, I hope personally when people start losing the house, but they still see bankers getting bailouts, it might start them getting angry. But that's
I'll tell you what. Hang on. I'll tell you what, Jim. In 2015. It didn't wake anybody up when the tactical aid unit at Manchester red-keyed a door for bailiffs. It didn't wake anybody up then that police were being used to do that. It didn't wake anybody up in 2011 when they called down police on me at Wigan County Court for asking a question. So until that happens to people and they get to that point where I had an option, I either pulled my pants down and said, you know, fuck me, and then pull my pants up when you finish, or try and fight them. And I dragged it out 5 years with these fuckers. But the system is tight. It is so tight. It's so corrupt. It's got to collapse. The problem is they are now engineering that collapse, and they're going to offer the solution.
Exactly. Well, this is what I've been
collapse.
saying, mate. It was going to collapse anyway, and they want to make sure that when it collapses, the people who caused the collapse in the first place are the ones.
And that's who's fighting for control of that now. They're
Yeah.
all fighting control of that. Putin, all these people are all representatives.
Well, they're
who's
clever
fighting
than
for
that, and they
now.
never offer you a solution, do they? They put it out there where you beg for that solution, don't they? This is what we want. This
Yeah.
is what we want. They never
Problem,
offer you the
reaction, solution. What do you want? What do you want? Oh, you want that? Oh, hey.
yeah. You can have it.
Oh, it comes at a price, though. How much a skeet?
So can I take it that we're all feeling pessimistic about the near future?
I'm very optimistic, me. I'm
You're
really
optimistic.
very optimistic.
No, I'm not.
Yes.
I never am though, mate. I'm always a glass half full guy, and it's not because I'm negative. It's that when it happens, I'm prepared for it. Are you with me? It's like I'm prepared. I knew this was going to happen, and then if something better happens, it's like, well, I was prepared for the worst happening anyway. So that's always been my attitude.
I'm not. I must admit, I'm not.
Well, we're coming up to the.
I was just going to say, I'm not looking
Go
forward
on,
to having
Jim.
to apply for all these dead-end jobs that, you know, when there's millions of other people applying for jobs, like all these youngsters on door. I mean, I think to myself, who's better employ some bloke in his 50s when they can take on a 18-year-old lad and just train him up and pay minimum like, a lot less money than me and stuff like that? I don't fancy my chances.
I don't know. It depends what you apply. I mean, I always like employing older people, me, because young people are like an nightmare for me. You know, I know you can't say that, but I don't care. I'm saying it. I always try to employ people who are older because they had a conscience and a sense of a work ethic. You see, younger people were like, "Are they here today?" No, they're half drunk. They're doing this. They're doing that. And with young people, it's always a go-between in it for another job. It's not really something they're committed to, is it? I was like that when I was younger too. You know, it was like, can you do this?
To be fair, I haven't got a fucking clue what I wanted to do and where
I still don't know what I want to do.
Exactly.
I haven't got a fucking clue how I ended up where I am. Anyway, we're coming into the last 3 minutes. Jimmy, me and Jimmy said we'd do an hour and a half, so we're coming into the last 3 minutes. Are you happy? Are you happy? No. Are you happy to carry on, or do you want to call it a night, Jim?
Well, my phone's at about 4%, so I will run about 5 minutes more, and then my phone will die anyway.
Well, it's been on a dodgy stand anyway. But Paul, can you tell the listeners and that?
It did hold.
What's that, sorry?
It did. It has. It's done well. It's done well, mate. Paul, can tell the viewers and listeners where they can find your stuff and maybe, indicate, help out and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, I keep it based in Wigan, me, because I'm a Wigan councillor. I'm not on duty in case you try and have me on a code of conduct, anybody watching. And it's called Wigan Council, what you're doing to our town, and it mainly focuses on what's going on in Wigan. But I do dabble in national politics every now and then. If it affects Wigan, Lee and Makerfield, then that's where I focus, because that's all I do every day, you know.
It always does. That
busy exposing what this council's doing. I've not time to research anything else. Well, you've seen the page, haven't you, Paul? I mean, it's boom, boom. So once you start looking into it, it's like they say, it's going down a rabbit hole. You just found this and then you found that, and before you know it, it takes over your life. It's like, crikey, they're doing this and they're doing that. And nobody believes half of what I put out there, even though it's true, and nobody's had me for libel. So, you know, if all I was saying was lies and making stuff up, they'd have me for libel, wouldn't they?
Well, Paul, would you believe that council tax is a commercial property tax? And I can prove it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You'd be interested? Yeah. Oh,
I know you can prove it, because I remember about 10 or 15 years I looked into all that and I went, what do you do? Because if I don't pay it,
well, we've got a High Court date, 9th of October. We'll see where we go.
Well, why are you taking it? Why are you taking it to High Court?
Do you know what? Because of COVID, because we've got to repeal a case law that the councils are standing under. It's I can't remember it off the top of my head, but we've got to repeal. Who?
Paul McKevitt.
Oh, no. But we've got to repeal this case law, and no court can do it until we get to Supreme. So we've got to go through High Court, but we've had to start with the council, the VOA, the tribunal, now the High Court, then the Supreme Court. Once that's repealed, then we bring our case forward, which is the council states that my dwelling, the definition of dwelling, is a composite hereditament. A composite hereditament.
Wasn't there a guy in Ashton who won on that about 15 years ago?
I think you're talking about Rob Bollocks.
Rob Bollocks, it doesn't sound familiar name, that.
Yeah, I think I know. He is the guy. He's the guy you're talking about.
Rob Bollocks versus Big and Council doesn't sort of come to my mind.
Well, it is Rob Bollocks. But what a composite hereditament is, Paul, is a wholly commercial property with a wholly domestic aspect. So that's a hospital, that's a prison, that's a pub, that's a hotel, that's a farmhouse, all commercial with a living accommodation. Where is your business at your property? Where is your VAT payments? Where is your stock at value? Where are your employees? They aren't anywhere. So there is no business. So it's wholly domestic, no commercial. It is not applicable for council tax. Simple. That's simple,
true.
Mate.
That is true, actually. But how many people would take that on and go with it, you see? But here you go. Good luck to you, mate. So Rob Bollocks so this guy from Ashton, he wasn't legit, was he not?
No, he is legit. He explained that. I'll tell you what Rob showed. Rob showed that Wigan Council at that time was going under five different companies. You had Wigan Council Love Art, you had Wigan WNBC, you had Wigan Council WNBC, you had Wigan Metro Borough Council. You had all kinds of businesses which was subcontracting to private businesses, which is how corporatisation works. You add into that the council.
Do you know my councillor's salary? I'm paid from a company in America who pays my salary as a councillor. What's all that about?
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. Yeah, because our court system, because our courts and banking system completely collapsed in 2008. All our system goes through corporate on Wall Street now. That's why you're getting paid from America, mate.
Well, at least that, I work for Her Majesty's government in a councillor position, but I get paid by an American. It's not, is it treasonous?
Well, it's our economy doesn't exist anymore, so we've got to go through the US.
True. Is that because of World War II's death? As long as they keep paying me, I'm not bothered. I'll go represent Trump.
Would you? Are you willing to come back again on a round table, Paul? Maybe get Jimmy on as well. The other Jimmy, not this Jimmy, because this Jimmy's always going to be here. But we've got to get people local. Yeah, we've got to get local people talking, because it's going to be too late at some point. Because the biggest thing you were saying about the corporations, where they were going and this was going, I think Ray raised it really well, where he went on his rant where everything was going. Well, when you put that to the Martin Niemöller version, where Niemöller grew up, was in Germany during World War II. When they came for the immigrants, he wasn't an immigrant, he said nothing. When they came for the trade unionists, blah, blah, blah. And then when they came for him, there was nobody left. Well,
but I've always stood up there. I've always been a shithouse to me and said, no, you're not getting away with that. It's just, I don't know, it's someone in my blood. I've always, no, not having any of that. You know, it's like this mask business, not wearing a mask. You know, if you told me you don't have to wear a mask, then I'd probably put one on me. It's like, sort of person I am, you know. It's when they tell me I have to do something, I go out my way not to do it. Here with me, it's like, yeah, don't know.
The thing is,
told what to do.
You know, but I don't like telling anybody what to do. You know, I'm not like, you know, I don't like authority, but I'm not an authoritarian. You know, it's like live and let live. Off you do. You go and do whatever you want.
well, hey, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what.
Bill.
We're ready. We're ready. Fuck. Hey, you can't pay your gas bill. Don't start me off at this time. Otherwise, you won't be going home, mate. We're ready to fuck off now, but Ray's turned up, so I think I should give Ray the last few words. Come on, finish your rant, son.
My last few words, Paul. I just think.
Go on, son.
Well, what do we say? I'm lost. I'm lost. I'm looking for answers and I can't find any. I can't find any answers. I don't know who's going to help us.
You'd be no good in politics, Ray.
Unless there's a massive turnaround in the population. I don't know. Scary.
I think it.
That's how I see it. I'm not good.
I think it'll be the week from the tours. I think you've got people who are going to wake up to this, and there's people who won't, and those decisions are going to put people on paths, and those paths are going to probably tear a lot of realities apart. I have no idea what these people. I can see what these people have engineered, and I can see what impact it's going to do. Jimmy, you can see what impact it's done on you and your family life. Mine, it's not been touched. It's totally the same. It's bonkers out there, but I go to work for normality. That's how strange it is.
Yeah, but it's just that this is just the start, though, Paul. That's what I'm saying. Going forward with this
wave, if they trigger this second wave bullshit off, it's over, isn't it? If people swallow, there's a second wave coming in September, which they will do with the flu season, are people going to buy that and lock down again for an all winter? You know,
got a good chance, haven't they?
Yeah, so what happens then, guys?
Are they going to enforce that? Are they going to enforce that? Are they going to do a Victoria? You know, are they going to try and enforce that?
I think so, because after brain dead sheep won't need enforcing, will they? They'll enforce everybody else, won't they? Like, you know, get a mask on. You'll have to be locked down. You know, people.
Yeah, but if they did that, Paul, if they actually did that, which is, you know, I believe what you're saying, I think that is true. I just think we're knackered.
We are knackered, yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm worried about.
Well, I am.
That's what worries me.
But I can't see not one politician, they'll discuss anything apart from this. No politicians are discussing this. There's no somebody where you're going, is there?
Not one nobody. Politician, is there not one?
No.
That's why we've got to. That's why
I'm concerned, Paul. That's my point. There's nobody where I'm going, oh, this can happen and that can happen, and I'm going, no, there's nobody. There's nobody, and people are still locked in this little box, like Paul said earlier. This is not a local thing; it's global. Don't be looking towards your government. It's not your government. It's to plan what's going ahead, and that's the big thing. It's not about governments.
Yeah,
no, it is. It's a massive plan. What's going there, Jimmy? Do you want to have some final words, mate?
Not really. I just want to go to the toilets. I'm waiting for you to finish.
I'll tell you
remember the 3 W's.
Yeah, listen, lads, all we can do is keep doing what we do, spreading information, talking to people, getting people to try and think a little bit. It's all you can do. I've tried to take on this system. I've seen how capable my local system is to prevent anything going against the natural, what they say is natural, which is normal. We have had so much lies fed to us throughout my life, 48 years of lies and bollocks. And I'm discovering stuff now that people can't accept, because they have to accept that their life has then been based on falsehoods. and we've all been hoodwinked here, guys.
Another thing, Paul. Another
Yeah.
thing is people double down on it sometimes. They've come to a decision and they see things contradicting their position, even though they kind of know it's probably true what they're being told. They kind of double down because they don't want to admit they were wrong. I mean, I've been guilty of it a few times in the past, where you like go along with something, and even though people are showing you contradictory information, it takes you a while to accept it because
Well, I'll tell you something.
so much to it.
I said, Jimmy, that you've changed that view. Your views have changed quite, maybe not really drastically to you, but from the Jimmy I knew from like January when we were chatting to now, that in that COVID fucking shit, you changed quite drastically to some things. You've gone, whoa, this is too much. But you're capable
at the start of this year, did anybody actually think anything could be this authoritarian and go down this route?
I didn't think I'd see it in my lifetime, mate. Never.
No, I
I've
didn't.
read about it.
I didn't.
Agenda
You had
21
seen,
told me.
I always started spread towards the end of my life. I'm sort of
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
That's what I
Agenda 21. Agenda 21 said
yeah.
this is what we wish to do, and I thought, fucking hell, I'm not going to see that in my lifetime. Mate. Oh, fucking hell, what's happened here? It's
Yeah,
Well,
but
let's just go.
blame David Icke for stuff like that, because David Icke said, "Oh, this will never happen," and they're behind the times, and it's like they're not behind the times, David. They're bringing this in. It's happening now. David Icke, you've been telling us lies all these times. I mean, some of these people like Icke. I mean, what do you reckon to people like this? I'll watch Icke and go, a lot of that makes sense, and then for 10 minutes, it's like, oh, I can't watch this guy anymore. And there's a lot of them like
David
that.
Icke.
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there like that.
He's like, I would say 50% of the stuff he talks about, I'm really interested in. I think he talks a lot of sense. But then, as soon as you go down the route where you're talking lizard men and Box Guy really was a lizard man and stuff, it's like, no. But
I think that's a bit. I think that's a little bit disingenuous to the lizard man stuff. You're talking frequencies. You're talking frequencies there. You're not talking physical lizards. But I will say, I've had some great conversations with Gareth Icke, his son. I've had some genuine conversations with David Icke.
I think he's a fascinating guy.
I'd love to if I could get him on. I'd love to if I can get him on.
I don't like the way people try and shut him up, even though I don't agree with half of the stuff he says.
No,
I really dislike this authoritarian.
You've got to have free.
Trying to tell me can't say have his opinions. I mean, in my honest opinion, guys, right? David Icke's lizard man theory about the Anunnaki ruling the world has just as much legitimacy as people tell me there's a God who created the world, because I don't believe either of them are right. I think they're both rubbish.
But then you should always have dialogue. I mean, I go in a pub and sit there.
Disagree.
Some crackpots are communists, some crackpots are BNP, and it's like, so what? Their opinions. Not fall out and not speak to anybody because they share a different opinion on something.
They'd have to do something for me to stop talking to them. Would have to do something really extreme, in my opinion, before I'd cut them off. I mean, I've been a dickhead in the past. Nothing serious, just messing around, like drunk in pubs, falling over, stupid things. Where if he was a politician now, if people could film like they do now all their life and put it on YouTube and stuff, or on videos, on your camera, and people would film you falling out of pubs, none of us would get a job anyway, would we? You think of all the things that most people have done.
Jimmy, hang on. Jimmy, hasn't our local MP just been outed as having his cock out in the air?
But
no, it wasn't.
My thing about that was, who the fuck keeps a video of some bloke for 13 years on your phone, and just in case it becomes a politician?
That's the question you'd ask, wouldn't you? What have you been doing with that dick picture for 30
I just want you to let me know, guys. Let me know when somebody's going to come and save us. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody to come and save us.
I know James Gundy. I think he's an all right lad. I mean, his politics is a bit bonkers being a Tory. And I said, I'll tell you what, somebody had a video of me with a cock that size, mate. That's not done you any bad press, that in the press, mate. Something that size, mate, knocking away. And I said, because things have changed in politics, you see. I think people like seeing that because it shows you've got like a bit of a lad, and he's a bit of a human. He's not so polished, and people.
It's not done much though for low. It's not done a lot for Lowton house prices though.
It's not. It depends if there's any single mothers moved in, or any fellas moved next door to him. That's what you'd be worried about.
Wigan has always they've made it when they move out towards Lowton and Govan. They think they've made it when they get out there.
Oh, well, yeah, mate, yeah.
No, wait, we've got our own. It's Standish and Shevington. They move out to here. That's where they go here
Oh.
and we get.
Anyway, guys, I've got 1% on my phone now, so I'm literally going to disappear any second.
Well, listen,
Right,
we'll
catch you later, Jimmy.
call it a night. We'll call it a night. It's we're going to look to do this at least once a month. Are we going to agree on that, boys?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
welcome. I'll include you in the chat group so that you can pick up any links or anything. So thanks for tonight, Jimmy, Paul, Ray.
No, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank
See you,
you.
bye. Appreciate it. Catch
All
you
the
later, guys.
best.
See you.
Catch you
Cheers,
later.
guys. Well, nice, healthy debate amongst local people, eh? Who would have thought that was weird that local people talk to each other about shit that goes on, considering we've got to do it now over this kind of a medium, because you either get charged for your details or they want your details to go in a pub. But you can go in a pub with as many people as you like, but you can only have 10 people or 30 people at a wedding or a funeral. It's getting beyond the joke. What control is being imposed on you? Do any of you know it? Are we all nutters still? I think you might need to have a look at some stuff, you know.